So I think they got this conviction perfectly right. Now, if they had a stronger law where in this particular state, if they could have put him to the DP penalty, the death penalty, I think it would actually suit here. But before we get there, let me give you guys a disclaimer about my type of content. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. All right. So, the individual that you guys see on my screen, let me see if I can back it up just for a second. This guy. And this story happened a few years back, but it took Montgomery County jury about 90 minutes this week to convict a Collegeville man of first-degree murder and involuntary deviant sexual intercourse in the death of his own 10-month-old daughter. Now, when I first told this story, it actually brought me to tears because I thought about my daughter when she was this age. And the last thing I could ever think to do is to hurt or harm my baby. And I want y'all to look at how happy this little girl is. Beautiful little baby, and she didn't deserve a single thing of what her father was convicted of. So for even for the people who tried to come and defend him and saying he's going to get his day in court, well, he got his day in court and he epically failed. Just to let you guys know, Austin Kamal Stevens, 31 years old, was sentenced to life in prison immediately by Common Pleas Court Judge William Carpenter. Stevens, who is a former youth football coach, and you guys saw that from the picture, in Lower Providence Township, said nothing Thursday at the close of his 3-day trial in Norristown. First Assistant District Attorney Edward McCann, who prosecuted the case, said afterwards that the death of that beautiful angel right there, 10-month-old Zara Scruggs, at the hand of her father was a new level of horror. So just as a forewarning, you guys are going to hear some details. That's actually my original thumbnail. So if you go back in my channel and look, you'll see those videos and those thumbnails. Those are actually mine that I created. To see a father sexually abuse, kill their child, and then be so cold and cavalier about what he did after the fact, I think the jury saw that, he said. And obviously the fact that they came back so quickly with a verdict shows that. During the proceedings before Carpenter, Kelly argued there was no clear evidence that Stevens had sexually assaulted his daughter and that the infant's death was accidental. The girl was found cold and lifeless in Stevens' apartment on October 2020. He told detectives that Zara had fallen and hit her head in the bathtub while briefly left alone. And this is part of what started me with this whole deal of another bathtub story. It started with stuff like this because it seems like a lot of these things that are happening to kids, they keep blaming it. They slipped and fell in the bathtub. They drowned in the bathtub. The bathtub, the bathtub, the bathtub. A lot of these stories end up in bathtubs, and it's just weird. Very, very weird. Or weird coincidence, I should say. But an autopsy revealed that she had suffered significant head trauma and bore signs of sexual abuse. Now, I actually pulled up the court case text, case details. I'm not so sure that y'all want me to read that. But if you look up casetext.com/case/Commonwealth V-Stevens-77. That's the actual place where you can look it up, read it. It will turn your stomach. So for those who are really into true crime, if you really, really want to find out what happened to this baby, and I know people say it's hard to listen to these stories, but think about when people say it's hard to listen to these stories. What about what that little girl had to go through and what her dad put her through? Isn't that worse? What she actually had to live and die through was not nearly as bad as us paying homage and giving her story a listening ear and promoting this story and letting people know, here's what happened. This should be the topic that everybody should be talking about. Data that was retrieved from Austin Stevens' phone showed that he waited up to an hour before calling 911, and then he Googled, "What if baby stops breathing?" And he also Googled, "How do you know if a baby is dead?" according to prosecutors. So the thought process. They likened his actions to a cover-up and says he appeared calm and emotionless during conversations with detectives just hours after his daughter's death. So let's keep going. I don't know where the rest of the article is. Is that it? How we do that? Let me see. Maybe we can get it from here. So let me read from this source, from POTTSMERC.com. The defendant, Kamal Stevens, right there, Austin Stevens, sexually abused his 10-month-old little girl, and then he willfully and deliberately let her die to cover up what he did. More than 24 people, many wearing pink face coverings or T-shirts embossed with "Justice for Zara," to show support for the baby when they were in the courtroom when the verdict was announced. Outside the courtroom, Darlene Spencer Smith, who was Zara's grandmother, approached McCann and Ringwood and said, "You guys are awesome. I just want to say I'm glad that justice was served. I appreciate everything Montgomery County did for Zara. They spoke up for her. They told her story. The evidence was there," Spencer Smith said. Spencer Smith says she will always remember Zara's laughter and smile. And you guys can see that from the picture. She's a beautiful little girl. And y'all hit that thumbs up if you agree, please. "She was my sunshine. She was my joy. She was happy. She was fun. She was not a fussy baby. She was a great baby. Her laughter, her fun, she was just delightful," said Spencer Smith of Norristown. During his closing statements to the jurors, McCann argued every choice Stevens made led to baby Zara's death. He made a conscious choice to let her die, dramatically pointing at Stevens while referring to the evil that he perpetrated inside his residence when he sexually assaulted the child and then struck the child's head against a hard surface. We're talking about a 10-month-old and slamming that child against a surface at least twice. Deadly force against a vital part of a 10-month-old's body, that's catastrophic. That's a catastrophic injury. Catastrophic injury. I can't talk today. McCann replayed for the jury video clips of statements Stevens made to detectives just hours after Zara died, in which he appeared emotionless and matter-of-fact as he described the child's unresponsiveness. I think I can skip some of this because it gets pretty long. But here's what I want to do. I want to actually show you guys one of the news videos, and then I want you to hear from my original commentary. So let me give you guys the fair usage real quick. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. So let me say this to kind of address, because I know Rude asked where was the mother in this situation, and I don't remember exactly what a mother was, because like I said, it was about 3 years ago and I didn't fully look for where the mother was in the details, but I can tell you this. At the time when he was, I hate to say babysitting, but I guess that was kind of what he was doing in this situation. But the mother was allowing him to be a father, and he was watching his child this day when all of this happened, basically. So imagine if I tell my daughter's mom, like, hey, I want to watch my daughter. She's 10 months old. I go pick her up. Boom. I have my daughter. I'll bring her back at such and such time. That's usually kind of how we would do things, even though my daughter spent quite a bit of time with me. So imagine when you're trying to let a biological father be a father. You know, he has her, I guess, while he's not at work. So anyway, here we go. Let's talk about this.
A warning, some of the details in this story are disturbing. A 29-year-old father is charged with first-degree murder for the death of his 10-month-old daughter. Investigators say the girl was sexually assaulted by Austin Stevens before she died. They say an hour before calling 911. Stevens Google searched, quote, "My baby isn't breathing," and, quote, "How do you know if a baby is dead?" An autopsy revealed the baby was the victim of sexual assault with trauma to her body and also blunt force trauma to her head, which ultimately killed her. Stevens' charges include first-degree murder, rape of a child, and aggravated assault. Katie Johnston for CBS Philly.
Ladies and gentlemen, this particular, and I meant to warn you about this. This is actually my original video commentary when this was going on. So I want y'all to just kind of hear this and just kind of hear what my thoughts are, my real raw emotion when this happened. So here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, this particular story is just one of those stories that there just are no words for, okay? The fact that as a man, as a black man, as a father, I am absolutely embarrassed at the fact that this man could even be called a man or father. You just got to hear this story, and I'm going to warn you guys, it's going to be a little bit difficult to digest if you're not able to handle the details. I get it, I understand, and this might not be the story for you. But for everybody else that wants to hear this story, a baby girl died after she was raped by her biological father. And then he waited more than an hour to call 911 at his Montgomery County home, according to investigators. Hashtag not my words. And I want y'all to look at this picture, and I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm going to tell you something that really broke my heart. All of these kids just look so happy. Every single one. Malia looked happy. Especially Tyrez. When you see the story about Tyrez Moore, he looks so happy. This baby girl. It's really hard for me to talk about this story because I remember when my daughter was this size. I always talk to my daughter about when she was born. I love my baby so much, and shout out to her. But I remember when my daughter was this small. Sorry. I'm just curious as to what this baby did to deserve what she got. What did this baby do so wrong to deserve what she got? And I don't understand it. I don't get it. And I want to say some very, very horrible things on air, and I'm going to refrain from doing so because it hurt my heart to hear this. And you see her face. I just don't understand it. I'm sorry. Y'all hold on a moment. All right. Okay, let me tell the story. This person that you see on my screen, his name is Austin Stevens, who is 29 years old, of Lower Providence Township. And that father, this individual, was arrested and charged with involuntary deviant sexual intercourse, rape of a child, aggravated assault, aggravated indecent assault, endangering the welfare of a child, and other related incidents. Police were called to a home on the 3400 block of Germantown Road in Lower Providence Township, Pennsylvania, for a report of an unresponsive infant. When they arrived, they found the biological father, Austin Stevens, with his unresponsive 10-month-old daughter, Zara Scruggs. Z-A-R-A Scruggs, S-C-R-U-G-G-S. 10-month-old Zara. Baby Zara was taken to Einstein Medical Center, Montgomery, where she was pronounced dead at 12:12 a.m. on Sunday. Investigators searched Austin Stevens' phone and found, and y'all can see from the screenshots, found that he conducted several Google searches for nearly an hour before he called 911. The searches included, which, matter of fact, let me see if I can find those screenshots. Here are the screenshots. He Google searched, if a baby stopped breathing. What if you don't hear a baby or beat? I think he meant heartbeat. A baby heart or beat. My baby isn't breathing. And lastly, how do you know if a baby is dead? According to investigators. Hashtag not my words. Don't get mad at me for telling you guys what the investigators are reporting as a fact. Police say that Austin Stevens also spoke to two women by way of his text messages and on social media during the hour before calling 911 about topics unrelated to his child. An autopsy conducted on Sunday determined baby Zara was the victim of a sexual assault, and that baby suffered blunt force trauma to the head. This case is deeply disturbing, and it's hard to imagine the child's death being any more traumatic. Sexual assault on an infant, followed by inaction by the father to save her life, and led to her death. That's according to Montgomery County District Attorney Kevin Steele. This individual, Austin Stevens, was remanded to the Montgomery County Correctional Facility after failing to make a $1 million bail. We're going to go ahead and stop it right there, and I'm going to read this last part about it. Let me see if I can fix this real quick here. Boom. So, there we go. This last part here. Detectives pressed Stevens as to why he waited more than 70 minutes to call 911, and Stevens claims that he was panicked, quote unquote, and he admitted conducting the internet searches. Stevens also admitted to using a text message application to communicate with a woman while conducting internet searches. So the thing is, I think that made this even weirder. At the time, he was trying to I think he was trying to holler at some, like when we say holler, like trying to court, like trying to court some woman or something like that. Really, really weird. The messaging content did not discuss any issues regarding Zara or her need for emergency care, Chris Delelli and Drebus alleged in the arrest affidavit. Ringwood described those messages as flirtatious in nature. Okay? Detectives concluded Stevens, and here's the answer to your question for those who are asking about the biological mother, and I think this is a visitation situation when they say custody, so keep that in mind. So here we go. It said that the detectives concluded that Austin Stevens had sole care and custody of the child at the time he had sexual assault injuries were inflicted. At the time the head and sexual assaults were afflicted. So let me read that again. Detectives concluded that Stevens had sole care and custody of the child at the time the head and sexual assault injuries were inflicted. So that doesn't mean that he had custody of the child. It just means at the time the child was with him. That sounds like the mother said, here, you can come pick your child up. and spend some time with her, which should be a normal thing for normal human beings, but he's not a normal person. These actions were a continuing course of conduct that created a substantial risk of death, and Stevens failed to provide a duty of care when the child was in need of emergency care. In closing, he is by far one of the worst black men that I know. He is by far one of the worst fathers I know. He is by far subhuman. He's not a good person. And for all the people who tried to defend him, when I posted these videos and when I had my original commentary and was saying we need to wait and all of this stuff, there was so much evidence that I just wish that people really would have kept an open mind as to what we were saying, what he was being charged with, the fact that he had $1 million bond, and none of his story made any sense. And even his whole demeanor and how he carried himself throughout the court proceedings made zero sense for a person that allegedly cared about their child and is not guilty of this. Everything about his whole demeanor said that he was guilty. And guess what? We were right. We have not had to do a single story retraction yet in almost 4 to 5 years of us doing the AFC podcast. So I want you guys to think about that for a moment. To this angel, to this happy baby, and I think that's the mother right there. I'm not sure, though. She's such a beautiful baby, and I love her pictures. This is even him trying to play like he's a father. This was, oh, and matter of fact, y'all got to go back and watch my original commentary. We talked about this job that he had, this diamond construction thing was allegedly his company, but the place that he was living in looked like absolute hell. But he had a construction company going on. But just a beautiful little baby, man. She was happy, and everybody confirmed. My favorite pictures of her is this one. That's probably my favorite picture of her. So, Zara Scruggs, 10 months old, young princess, R.I.P. We will never forget you. And we are absolutely glad that this is the update that everybody wanted to hear, and we got justice. So we are absolutely happy with the verdict, and this was the correct verdict. This man needs life in prison, and if they had more that they could have given him, they could have gave him more. So go to hell, Austin Kamal Stevens, alleged father. Thank you guys so much for listening with an open mind and an open heart to this story. This is a hell of an update, and I think that we got to win here. But as men, as black men, we got to do better. We can't have people like this. And this story should be absolutely viral. This story should have made 5-10 million views. Absolutely should have went viral. That angel deserved every bit of that attention and love. Thank you guys so much. Let's go to story number 2. And keep in mind, guys, we're doing 15 stories. We got a lot to talk about, so we have to keep this thing moving. As we get more thumbs up, I will make sure and shout you guys out. So thank you very much. And let me see. Boom, boom. Let me say thank you again, Reeves 3002, Nigella King, and also thank you to Mary S. Mary S. said, always advocating for children. Thank you for your Cash App. So Mary, last name starts with an S. I don't put your full name out there unless your name is the same in the chat, and then I'll shout it out that way, but I don't want to read your full name. I don't want to put your information out there. Have people trolling you, so if you're listening, thank you so much. Let's move to our next story here real quick. Let me see if I can get this down. And if we have any moderators, so I see Dipey and Keyshawn in there, can you guys kind of let me know how many thumbs up we have from time to time? Just while you guys are here. You don't have to do it the whole time, but just every once in a while, that would help me out quite a bit. Because I know most people are actually used to us streaming like really late at night, so this is a little bit unusual. Let me see, I need to go back up here. And y'all forgive me if y'all start hearing some loud banging noises, because they are over here working on some stuff. And it sounds like they're back working again, so that's why I tend to not do stuff during the daytime. So y'all bear with me. Bear with me. Because I know we got some internet issues, but we're going to try to work it out. Let me see if I can fix this video here real quick. Boom, boom. And trying to work faster, y'all. Bear with me. This is all live. Boom. And did you guys let me know where y'all are watching from? We got 200 thumbs up. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'd say that's a good start to the day. So let me get this readjusted here. And how many of you guys like the new set? I hope y'all guys like the new set. I was trying to do something a little bit different. I got this ready a few days ago. I know that the stream is dropping, but trust me when I tell you, when you watch it on the replay, it's not going to be doing all the dropping frames and stuff. So I'm not sure what's going on. I can see it going up and down, up and down. I don't know why it's doing that. I really don't know because I have paid my bill. I've had these people out here replacing lines and cords and all kind of stuff. I don't know what else to do while I'm over here dropping stuff. So all I can do is just keep this thing going. Let's go ahead. Story number 2. Believe it or not, I've actually had a couple of stories that had a similar title when you're talking about a stabbing that occurred and the amount of wounds, probably defensive wounds, that this mother had in this situation. So this is not a repeat. This is a brand new story just to let you guys know. And I want you to hear about this mother's tragedy. Maybe I can educate people a little bit as to kind of how to avoid these situations as best as you possibly can. But there was the loss of this mother and a baby and 2 other children that are actually at high risk fighting for their lives right now. But let me give you guys a disclaimer about my content. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this. That is your official disclaimer. And I'm getting this story from people.com. They do a really good job with the article, so thank you very much. A mother by the name of Denja, or Denja, D-E-N apostrophe J-A-H. I'm not sure, and I'm sorry to the family, or I guess you can call her Nikki. Denja Nikki Moore, the Florida mom who was found stabbed to death in an apartment fire, was reportedly stabbed 100 times with a knife. Most of you guys who have watched my channel for long enough know exactly what we call that. There is a term for it that we call, not us, but it's a term that was created for this type of crime. And it's called a crime of passion. And you absolutely have to be enraged and be a hateful person to stab someone over 100 times because, well, I don't know if it's your mental state. Do you call this mental illness? If you're going to call something mental illness, do people want to call it this, or do you not call it this because it's a man? I'm not sure. But it don't seem like men get the option to call it they were going through a mental episode, right? A crime of passion is what this is. This man is a very hateful person. The mother, Nikki Moore, who was pronounced dead on the scene on November 21st, so this was not even a week ago, was found to be inflicted with approximately 100 knife wounds and severe burns, according to a new arrest affidavit. And in order to stab somebody that many times, it takes a lot of energy. There's a lot of adrenaline pumping. There's a lot of hate, or whatever it is that you want to call it. But these are the children that were involved also. So this story absolutely has something to do with children. So I'm not just talking about this story just because it was a mom that was injured. It was because, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, the mother's love for thug and attention also caused these babies to get hurt and caused the youngest baby to die in the house fire. This man intended to kill everybody there. Additionally, the affidavit reports that Moore's apartment was fully engulfed with flames, with the windows and doors emitting black smoke. The kitchen stove's 4 burners were turned on with large amounts of paper and a box located on the stovetop, according to the affidavit. It was determined by the Florida State Fire Marshal investigators that the fire was a criminal was criminal in nature and the intentional act with two arson locations. On November 21st, police and firefighters were called to the apartment at the 1200 Belleville Road at Daytona Beach and found the 30-year-old mother and her 3 children inside. Her 3 children, a 10-month-old boy, and a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old were taken to the hospital where the infant later died because obviously the baby's body just wasn't strong enough to survive that blaze and the smoke. The 2 older children are currently in critical condition at the hospital. So please, if you're listening to this story or in the comment section, put a prayer hands up. And as of right now, let's pray that those children pull through. We really, really hope that they survive this because they're in critical condition, not in good shape at all. On November 22nd, the suspect, Charles Ivy, this fool, looks insane in the eyeballs. Somebody said snake eyes. He looks like a weasel. Look at his face. Look at his eyes. Let me back that up so you guys can look at what crazy looks like. He was charged. He is facing 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted felony murder and arson. Per Fox 35, the affidavit stated that Ivy was taken to the Ormond Beach Police between 11:32 p.m. and 11:42. So he placed himself at the scene of the crime. We're putting those prayer hand emojis in the chat, praying that these other 2 children survive. According to the affidavit, Ivy then told police he stayed at the victim's apartment until 11:35 p.m. The report said that he remained in the parking lot for an additional 30 minutes, allegedly making him present at the time of the murders. So there you go. On the day of Ivy's arrest, Daytona Beach Police Chief Jakari Young said during a press conference that the deadly incident was the most horrendous and horrific crime he had experienced through his entire career. During a press conference, Young said he believed Ivy is the father of at least 2 of the children. Keep in mind, she has 3. There's a reason I'm talking about this. And ladies, since the majority of my audience is women, I've been trying to tell my sisters for the longest time. Hashtag, when you date thugs, you date death. That is an AFC podcast hashtag. If you hear anybody say that, hashtag when you date thugs, you date death, tell them you got that from the AFC podcast because that's where it started from. And I'm going to continue to put that on the internet forever so people know where it came from. The reason that I say that is because these men grow into men from boys. These boys usually don't have positive father figures or father figures at all, grow up in single parent households if they even have parental households at all. Some of them flat out grow up on the streets. So they don't see a sense of value in themselves, not balanced mentally individuals when you're talking about mental illness. So therefore, they have a lowered self-value of themselves. So if they have a lower self-value of themselves, they're going to grow up into the world and they're going to put that feeling and use it against everyone else. You guys follow me so far? So if they don't love themselves, they can't properly love anybody else, which is why they tend to inflict damage on everyone else. And you tend to look and say, well, damn, like, don't this person have a heart inside their chest? No, they don't, because they don't care about themselves. That's how you can see it manifest in their actions. Let me tell you guys why women like this, and she is a victim, and I'm not victim shaming or victim blaming, but we have to learn a lesson so we can learn how to not continue this cycle, ladies. Okay? This mother, the reason that I can even think, because this doesn't have to do with the dynamic of, and I'm going to just speak from the heart. This doesn't have a dynamic of women wanting a man who is dominant, a man who is protective. This has to do with women in her situation having a lower self-value of themselves, low self-esteem, and the fact that women know that they are outnumbered. Women know that they are outnumbered, and they know that the likelihood of them finding a man that will stay with them and be dedicated to them is very low because women outnumber men in general. So it's a fight to have some man, to have something, to have anything. And the only thing that they have that will stay with them are these children. The only way that they can get these children, and if they sleep with any man that they partially like, sleep with them unprotected. To keep attention, whether that be to keep a roof over their head, to make things easier, Section 8 food stamps, housing vouchers, whatever it is, car vouchers, child support. Not all, not necessarily her, but a lot of them do this and behave this way. I want you guys to also keep in mind and notice that she has 3 kids. And they're saying he's potentially the father of 2 out of 3. Let's shake that up a little bit. And a 10-month-old. 2 out of 3. Shake this up however you want to. 2 out of 3. 4 and 5-year-old. Let's just say if he's the father of those 2, then that means now you're putting question to the 10-month-old, right? Let's just say if he's the father of the oldest and the father of the youngest, then that means that the mother had unprotected sex with somebody within a small time span, the fact that her 2 oldest kids are 1 year apart or less. If he is the father of the 2 youngest, then that means that he was the man that came behind another man that she was with within a short time span. See how that works? Keep in mind that this man has low self-esteem, very sensitive, and the very thing that these women love about these thugs, they like it because they think that this thug behavior, that they're going to sell drugs to people that aren't her. They think that he's going to beat up and shoot at people that aren't her. She thinks that, or women like this think that they're going to inflict this violent behavior in this protection mode is going to be inflicted on everybody but them until you piss them off. Now you're in the thug lion cage with your children, and the thug lion now behaves exactly what their nature entails. Everybody catch that? And yes, they put up a huge GoFundMe, which we're going to skip that. Put up the GoFundMe, pray for the other children's survival. So this could very well be a love triangle. Maybe he thought that she slept with somebody else. She was moving on to somebody else. And now he questions the validity of him being the youngest child's dad. We really don't know because nobody wants to talk, which leaves us to assume what's the problem. He snapped for a reason. I'm not saying she deserved it, but what I'm saying is when you're in the thug lion cage, maybe the thug lion just decided to just act out for no reason. But generally, if you move wrong, breathe wrong, do something wrong, it's in the thug lion's nature to react. So something caused it. I continue to tell women, you date who you want to date, but you don't have the right to date thugs and date idiots and produce babies by idiots. Because now you're involving children who can't speak for themselves, nor can they defend themselves against the tyranny of the choice of man that you made. In my opinion, if you date thugs, you should not have children. Maybe you shouldn't even have custody of your children. Let me give you guys the fair usage. And RIP to the mother, and I'm sorry to the family if y'all don't like that, but I'm trying to prevent more situations like this because the children don't deserve it and the mothers don't deserve it. These women don't deserve this. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. I know people might get triggered about what I said, but just remember, if you're going to argue anything, just argue the facts. Argue the opinions. Don't argue the facts. Because the things that I spoke about and how we pair bond are facts in the way that we get down in a lot of communities, especially in the black community. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, listen to these news videos. Let's get it.
Started at 4 o'clock today. Daytona Beach firefighters responded to a fire, Greg, at this apartment complex here just around midnight. Investigators say that's where they found the mother stabbed to death. Good afternoon. I'm Darlene Jones.
And I'm Greg Wormuth. Police say someone started the fire at the apartment with her 3 children inside. The mother's baby died, and her 4- and 5-year-olds are fighting for their lives this afternoon. This tragedy unfolded at the Countryside Apartments on Bevel Road, and you can see that's near Clyde Morris Boulevard. Channel 9's Demi Johnson is live there now, and Demi, you just learned more about the mother from her family.
I did, Greg. When we were outside of the apartment, we actually met her siblings, and they told us their sister's name was Denisha Nikki Moore. But so far, police have not shared any victim information with us. Investigators did say she was stabbed multiple times before the apartment was set on fire with those children inside. Devastated family members arrived outside this burned apartment building where they told us this woman, Denisha Nikki Moore, was killed. Investigators say she was stabbed and her killer set the apartment on fire with 3 small children inside. First responders found a baby in a crib and Denisha's 4- and 5-year-old son and daughter. The woman and her baby both died. Daytona Beach Police Chief Jakari Young described the scene as one of the most difficult his officers have responded to in quite some time.
This is a horrific incident. We are literally 2 days out from a holiday that centers around.
In a statement, they said she was a loving and devoted daughter and mother of 3. There was nothing she wouldn't do for her kids. She enjoyed doing hair and hanging out with her sister and best friend. And police have not said anything about a suspect at this point or who they may be looking for. The family tells us that the other 2 children are still in the hospital fighting for their lives, and one of them may be undergoing surgery soon. Live in Daytona Beach, Demi Johnson, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
New developments now in the murders of a mom and her 10-month-old baby. Daytona Beach police say a suspect is in jail now, facing a long list of charges after detectives say 34-year-old Charles Ivy stabbed that mom and set fire to their apartment, killing the baby. Police say this happened late Monday night at the Countryside Apartments off Bevel Road in Daytona Beach. 2 other kids were also inside the home during the fire. They're still in critical condition at a hospital. News 6's Molly Reed is in Daytona Beach with details on how investigators tracked Ivy down.
We now know the 2 children who are in the hospital at this time, still fighting for their life, are Charles Ivy's own children with the victim. Now, police were back here at the jail trying to question him more today. They say so far he has not confessed to anything, and they still don't have a motive.
The evidence is clear. The evidence speaks for itself.
34-year-old Charles Ivy is now facing several murder, attempted murder, and arson charges. Daytona Beach detectives say on Monday night he stabbed his ex, 30-year-old Denisha Moore, then set her apartment on fire with their 4- and 5-year-old children inside and Moore's 10-month-old, the infant dying afterwards in the hospital.
I have never witnessed anything this horrific in my entire career.
Police say inside the apartment they found the stove's burners all turned on with papers and boxes on top to start a fire, so they knew it was intentionally set. Detectives then went to track down the murderer.
We were able to track his vehicle via traffic cameras leaving the area after this incident would have occurred.
Chief Jakari Young says Ormond Beach police told Ivy about his children right after the fire. After that, police couldn't get a hold of him. Detectives went to Ivy's Ormond Beach home, saw him limping, putting suitcases in his car, and then leaving. The chief says they pulled him over and arrested him.
He was also in possession, admittedly, of the victim's cell phone.
Now, as Ivy's held in jail, his two children are still in critical condition in the hospital.
Their injuries were as a result of being left to die in a fully engulfed fire.
Ivy did not say anything during his court appearance here today. He's being held here in the jail without bond. In Daytona Beach, Volusia County, I'm Molly Reed, getting results, News 6.
New details tonight about this man, Charles Ivy. Daytona Beach police say he fatally stabbed the mother of his children and then set her apartment on fire with 3 kids inside.
Yeah, the mother's 10-month-old died in the blaze. The other 2 kids are in the hospital, and we learned today that he's actually the father of those kids. Fox 35's Connor Hansen spoke with cousins of the mother today, and he joins us right now in studio. So, Connor, they have to be in shock over this whole thing.
That's right, John. And family members told me today they say Denja Moore was planning to come over to their house for Thanksgiving tomorrow. They say they still can't comprehend how something so horrible could happen to such a good person.
Everybody is still shocked and in disbelief. We was just on the phone, like talking about preparing for the tomorrow.
Denja Moore's cousins, Tanisha and Princess, say they all grew up like sisters. They describe Moore as kind, with a great sense of humor, and someone who would do anything for her kids.
Nice, caring.
Police say Moore was killed by the father of 2 of her children, Charles Ivy. Daytona Beach Police Chief Jakari Young not holding back after describing the horrific details, alleging Ivy stabbed her to death, then set her apartment on fire. Her 3 kids were inside. Her 10-month-old did not make it, and a 4- and 5-year-old are in the hospital.
The defendant in this incident deserves a special place in the gates of hell for what he did to this mother and these children.
Denja Moore's cousins say they didn't know Ivy at all, just that she dropped the kids off with him on weekends. They're relieved that he's in jail and are thanking all the first responders who helped.
This is the mother of your kids. You're the reason she's down here. It's just, just crazy. You can't even describe how we felt when we heard the details of, what happened.
You know what? I just thought about something, what that police officer said. I'm going to skip this last video. Did y'all notice that he said that there's a special place in hell for that dude? Who says that all the time? I think that there are people who listen to my videos that don't want to say that they listen to my brother. I'm thankful that that brother is working hard to try to get some resolution to this case, so I'm very, very thankful for that. But if he does listen, I would like a little shout out from time to time, because we are working hard to try to correct and curb this behavior. Maybe we can't completely stop it, but one thing I do know is that sleeping with fools like this is a choice. Having babies with fools like this is a choice. And continuing to have babies by dudes like this is a choice. Regardless of what you're going through, there was every indicator there. Look at his work history. What does he do for a living? I can almost guarantee you he was not a productive member of society, right? There are yellow and red flags, and I talk about these things all the time. 2 women, talk to them all the time. There are indicators about these men that let you know that they are not suitable people to have children by. Date them if you want to. Date them if you want to, but you don't have the right to involve children in these situations. If you have one by them, that should be enough. But you look up and you had a 4- and a 5-year-old back to back. Then you turn around and 4 years later, maybe 3 or 4 years, is it between 3 and 4 years if you include the 9 months, now you have a 10-month-old. You're going back and back and back and forth, like Aaliyah would say. And that's what has to stop, is the behavior that precipitates this, that leads up to this. And we continue to keep having stories like this. We're going to continue to talk about this. I'm going to continue to have my opinions about this and tell you guys what I think that would curb this type of behavior and stop children from being hurt, murdered, and abused, even to the mothers. Take and love yourselves better than this. Have a higher self-value, a higher self-worth. If we're going to talk about how our sisters are so educated, then maybe put your focus not on sex, not on a man, not on, well, I want somebody to love me and all of that stuff. That should be on the back burner. You should have your education, being able to take care of yourselves and put yourself in a career path or have a business where you could take care of yourself and potentially have money saved up. Most of us don't have a savings account. a plan for our own future, let alone children. Why would we bring children into this world with no plan to be able to take care of them? We're just like, the next few paychecks we got, we'll be able to take care of food and keep the electric on, keep the rent paid, gas in the car, and that's about it. Everything else we just leave to chance. And we have got to stop living check to check. I'm guilty of it, and that's why if I've done it, I can educate others. This is not the path to go down. I love my sisters and I love my brothers, and I want to see us do better and stop putting our children in danger like this. I hope that man gets life in prison. He never needs to see the light of day again. And keep those other two children, the 4 and the 5-year-old, in your prayers. If that man is actually their parent, we don't actually know. But I hope they can get some resolution to that too. But keep them in your prayers, okay? Hopefully we don't have to do any more updates outside of this. But RIP to the mother, RIP to the baby, and keep the other children in your prayers, okay? Life in prison for that food, that should be the end of it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Leave a comment in the comment section. If you know about this story, if you're related or had some dealings with this man, leave a comment or shoot me an email. Very simple. This is now all you see down here, the AFC Matters at gmail.com. Let me know what's up. Thank you.